My budget was $60,000 maximum. So basically I was told by most of the agencies it was impossible to find a sea view apartment, no matter if it was on the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth road up the mountain.
Right.
I ended up negotiating the apartment for $55,000.
Right.
And the remodel was $5,000, so I came in at my $60,000 budget.
Ever wondered how you can buy a dream apartment in Albania for just $60,000? Well, our guests did it, and today they're going to reveal all of their secrets. Welcome back to the Nomadic Abundance Podcast, slow travel tips and inspiration for living an abundant life abroad. In this episode, we sit down with an American expat who reveals how they bought an apartment for just $60,000, navigated the unique visa advantages, and found a place that feels like home. So get ready for a story packed with practical tips and inspiring moments. But first, if you're new here, we're Joel and Michelle, the Wandering Hartz, and we've been traveling full-time since 2019. Now we're on a mission to help digital nomads, early retirees, and others to incorporate slow or even full-time travel seamlessly into your work or retirement life for a more abundant lifestyle. Our Nomadic Abundance members also get access to exclusive bonus content, including bonus episodes, along with a growing collection of ebooks and guides for slow travelers and much more. More on that later. Now on with the show. Well, Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to, before we kind of get anything, I just thought we'd talk a little bit about like how we know each other.
Okay.
So we met last year in Saranda, Albania.
Yep.
And then we've had a chance to actually travel with you a few times.
Yes.
I think Bulgaria, and then this year we'll be actually doing even more traveling together, which is going to be fun.
3 countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, we're filming this in Saranda, Albania.
Yep.
And of course, the purpose of this podcast is because you've done something that a lot of people haven't. A lot of people may be interested in the whole idea of maybe finding another place, outside the U.S., especially for our U.S. audience, and buying an apartment somewhere to make either as a home base or even, and some folks do like permanent stuff. So, and you've done this, and you're gonna talk to us about that today.
Okay.
Whether you want to or not. No.
Oh, is that what this is about?
Yeah. So before we go any further, I was just wondering if you would give us a little quick little introduction to kind of who you are, maybe why you decided that you wanted to go ahead and find like a home base or whatever it is.
Sure. So I started the nomadic lifestyle about 3 years ago. And my sister at the time had just started a job in Germany. So it was really serendipitous that I had decided to start my journey around that time. So I had a home base there with her. And my first solo destination was here in Saranda, Albania.
Okay.
And it was October of 21. And I really loved it here. Really, really. Then, I continued my journeys and did Turkey and Croatia and Iceland and Ireland and Spain and all kinds of places, and didn't come back here for like a year and a half. Then I came back February of 23.
Yeah.
And immediately it hit me how much I really loved the place. I kind of forgot it in the year and a half that I was gone. And of course, seeing so many different places in that time frame, it sort of dulled the edges of Saranda. But as soon as I stepped foot back in here, I remembered how awesome this city is for me. And then I happened to meet you two pretty close to right after I got here. We met at an expat sort of hangout and just hit it off. I ended up being at odds of where to go for the summer of 23, as some family obligations were going to have me going to the States in the winter, in November. And I couldn't see going back and forth twice in the year. Anyhow, you guys convinced me that Bansko, Bulgaria would be the place to go. And I followed you there, basically, and had a wonderful time. Now that had the added bonus, I guess, of I enjoyed Bulgaria so much that I actually thought of maybe buying a property there because it was super affordable.
Right.
And that added to the vague thought of buying something in Albania and also Romania, which I had done and loved as well. And all three places are affordable to varying degrees. And at the time, all three were out of the Schengen Union.
Right. Yeah.
And that would have been a perfect place to, spend your 180 days or 90 days outside of the Schengen.
Yeah.
As we all know now, Bulgaria and Romania joined the Schengen Union, and it became effective this past March 31st. And that kind of sealed the deal of me wanting to buy a property in Albania, in Saranda in particular. The scenery here is amazing. You've got the sea on one side, you've got mountains on the other. Historical things within minutes, cultural places to go, just a lot of things to do. Corfu, Greece is 30 minutes away, ferry ride. And this had the added bonus of Albania not joining the Schengen probably anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was that.
And we get a 1-year visa
Yes.
too, as
if
Americans.
If you're American, as Michelle just said, you don't have to do anything. You fly in and that's it. You're all set for a year.
Yeah. That's a huge bonus.
Yes, I agree.
Too.
I agree.
Now, would you say that that's one of the reasons, like, it kind of tipped the balance towards Albania for you?
I mean, yes, but the biggest factor still was Romania and Bulgaria joining the Schengen Union. Up until that time, they were all running pretty close to each other.
Right.
As far as places where I could see myself living.
Okay.
Yeah. But here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the same thoughts too,
Oh, sure.
especially for Bulgaria.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
We entertained that a lot, that thought. Like, oh man, we could see ourselves maybe buying a place.
Because
But-
it's affordable.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cost of living. Like I said, the three places were running neck and neck until the Schengen. thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of messed up a lot of people's
I think it did.
plans.
And also, like I know for Romania, I'm not sure on Bulgaria, but I think it's the same. You don't get like a fast track to a residency from those countries.
Yeah.
If you buy a property here, basically, I just have to fill out an application now,
Right.
and it's 99.9% sure that I have residency if I just go fill out some paperwork.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, as an American citizen, I don't necessarily need citizenship.
Yeah. Well, especially if you plan on traveling, and I know
Residency, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Residency.
and especially if you're traveling a lot, then if you're not planning on being here the entire year, then it kind of doesn't always make sense for most people, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Like other people we've talked to that live here sort of semi-permanently, they'll do like 9 months or a year and then jump out for 3 months and then jump back in and
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good place it's a good stopping off point because it's Europe. It's, again, like you said, it's absolutely beautiful. Depending on the time of year, you've got decent access to other parts of Europe, or even North Africa, because you can go to either Tirana or Corfu, and then once next year, whenever the new airport gets finished in Laura, then if it's next year,
if it's next year,
you never know.
Yeah.
Then that'll make it even like way more more accessible as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've also thought about the idea of maybe having a home base somewhere. We talk about this. I think we've maybe talked about it on the podcast before, but that idea is nice for us. Now, but that makes me wonder. Is like, so when you first started traveling, was that one of your goals? Was to try to find something outside of the U.S. to spend like the bulk of your time, or was it more of something that like I'm just going to go for a few months at a time, and then it just kind of expanded?
I think it was always in the back of my mind. It wasn't necessarily like a tangible goal or like something that I put a lot of thought into. I think eventually I wanted to do that, but I wasn't interested in doing it right away.
Right.
So the first year when I went around, I sort of just was, enjoying my travels and not really thinking, oh, I'd like to live here. Although every country you go to, it's kind of like that. Once you're there, you're like, oh, I could see myself living here.
Yep.
Yeah.
The second year, as I was doing some repeat traveling to countries, that's when it was sort of like, yeah, I could realistically see myself living in one of these places.
So, Paul, we meet a lot of people that, in our travels that are, a lot of the common things that they say is the reason that they're traveling or they're spending, especially the ones that slow travel or do full-time travel like we all do. One of the big reasons is because of just how expensive things are back in the States. I know for us, we've talked about this before, where when we sold our home, we couldn't even afford to buy another home without taking out essentially another mortgage that was equal to the one we already had.
Right.
So, that was one of the factors for us to decide to actually go and like, hey, let's just go travel and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And so was that a factor for you at all? Or was that a factor, maybe why you, continue to travel outside the U.S.?
So very briefly, when I got the idea to do this about 3.5 years ago, the market was amazing in Connecticut and all across the U.S. actually, the housing market for sellers. So in my head at the time, I thought if I get a certain amount of money offered for the house, I'll take it and start my international travel. I got $31,000 over what I expected.
Okay. That's great.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's
exactly.
really great.
But I still wouldn't be able to buy a new house in the U.S. for that price.
Right.
And same thing, I would have had to finance a new house. And
Yeah.
And I didn't plan on using the house money as anything but security. And I hadn't dived into my money until this year when I purchased this apartment. So yeah, I mean, I knew I had a nest egg after I sold the house, and that added a lot of security to what I was doing. But yeah, I found life to be a lot cheaper traveling Europe than owning my own home and living in the States.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no contest.
Yeah.
I save, probably $2,000 a month cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Swanning around Europe.
Right.
And that's been a huge eye opener and a surprise, really, and fantastic. It's been fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something that we feel too, right? Like we keep trying to show people how you can have like a more abundant life, outside the States, whether it is in Europe or maybe South America or some other countries, but just, being open to that and, whether it's 3 months out of the year, kind of snowbirding, or whether it's full time or something in between, just being open to that and then getting a chance to explore a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
And I know in a lot of these videos that people say this, but some concrete things are you're not paying a mortgage anymore. You're not paying, at least in my case, I'm not paying a huge like car insurance premium or whatever. I have no car. The only thing I'm paying back in the States is my health insurance, which I kept. I haven't done any of the travel insurance. And I have a small storage unit for family heirlooms and things like that I didn't want to get rid of. And that's really it. That's my bills in the US now.
Yeah.
So that's how you save all that money every month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, before we continue with the interview, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel and our newsletter if slow travel, living abroad, or travel tips pique your interest. We send that out once a week, and we promise it's worth it. You can just scan the QR code on the screen. Now back to the interview.
Because I know when I see these videos, I'm like, well, how are they, how is it thousands of dollars cheaper to live abroad. That's how.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you have like a whole house with the whole thing, and you're trying to travel, that's obviously a different level of, which is not our level. And if that's what you want to do, great, go for it, but not everybody can afford that. And that's, I think the point is you don't have to afford that. And I think that's the mentality that people get into, is they just think that they still think of everything as a vacation.
Yeah.
Instead it's like, oh, well, they'll spend $3 or $4 on a vacation, 1 week vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
When they could be living quite well for a month, or almost in some places 2 months, as a couple for that same price.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cost of living is drastically lower as far as, first of all, if you're renting accommodations, that except for the busy tourist season of any country that you're in,
right,
the rest of the year, generally, it's very cheap, what we would consider ridiculously cheap in the States.
Right.
My rent, for example, this year here in Saranda, Albania, for the winter and early spring was $350 a month.
Okay. Is that with utilities?
No, I was paying about $25 total in utilities a month.
Right.
So, there you go. Now with purchasing this apartment, I'm not going to even have that expense anymore. My electric is going to be under $20 a month. My water bill is going to be under $20 a month.
Right.
And there's no property tax here. So,
right. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, so again, now you're looking at the cost of like storage units back in the States, right? And now you're rivaling, in some cases, some people are paying upwards of $300 a month just in a storage unit.
Yeah. We've met people,
wow,
that are traveling that are paying that, and
I'm paying $130
for your storage.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, we're headed back to the States to clear it out." To get.
I haven't reached that point yet because, like I said, it's family heirlooms and antiques and stuff.
Going back to like downsize it even further, if not completely.
Right.
So I think a lot of people, including ourselves, are really, as much as it's an interesting idea to like buy property overseas, we're still like really intimidated by that. I mean, were you also intimidated by the process?
Very much so. Especially in the Balkans. So first of all, the most important thing is foreigners can't get a mortgage. Okay. That's so if you were planning on doing it the American way, it's not going to happen. They want all the money up front from you.
Okay.
Or, if you have a rich parent and you borrow the money.
Right.
But they want your money.
Right.
That's it. And so I had to find something right away. I had a limit. I had to find something that fit into the cash that I could just be disposed, of. And that was really hard because I'm not a wealthy person. I'm still working online. And I had a set amount of money that I hadn't put into stocks and retirement funds. I had a set amount of cash, and it wasn't for a sea view apartment here. I had a minuscule budget, and it was going to be a real task to find what I wanted. I went to a few real estate agents, and even a studio that wouldn't be completed until 2025.
Okay.
So I was buying, that, or would be buying that, was $5,000 over budget.
Right.
Anything that existed already and was newish was in the 70s, which was more than I could afford as well.
Right.
10 to 15,000 more than I could afford.
Right.
My budget was 60,000 maximum. So basically, I was told by most of the agencies it was impossible to find a sea view apartment, no matter if it was on the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth road up the mountain.
Right.
So an Albanian friend of mine said, why don't you look at the Albanian website? And I was like, what Albanian website? So he sent me the link, which I'm sure Joel can supply later.
Yeah, we can put that.
Mariup.al. And it's a website kind of almost like a Craigslist to sell anything.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And you can search by what you're looking for, apartments or whatever, motorcycles, whatever, you know, and the location. So I searched Saranda and apartments. 20-something pages of things came up.
Oh, wow.
But on the first or second page, there was an apartment for about 65, and I was like, and it was furnished and everything. And then in the same building, there was one for 56,000. So it turned out the 65,000 was under deposit, and I couldn't look at it.
Okay.
But that was the front of this actual same building that I'm in now. And it had a big front balcony facing the sea. Then there was this one, which is 47 square meters. And at the time, the kitchen had been ripped out. Everything was out of this apartment. It was filthy dirty. It hadn't been lived in over a year. There were black marks all over the floor, grease, all kinds of things. It was very dirty. But I walked in with a friend of mine and a real estate agent of the seller, by the way, and I saw something in it. I saw something that I liked. The view is amazing from my little pizza slice balcony, but it's my balcony. You can fit two chairs and a table out there. And it's a fabulous view of the Ionian Sea. And it was 56,000 euros. I made an offer of 55,000 euros, and it was accepted.
Okay.
Then the hard part came. You have to, in Albania, you don't have like the real estate agent just sort of what's the right word? They assist in the sale, but they don't really
do all the legwork for you.
Right, notary publics do it here.
Right. Yeah.
And you generally use the notary that the seller is using.
Okay.
You should try for a neutral one, but a lot of times you end up using the one that the seller has chosen. You also use the seller's real estate agent.
Okay.
Okay. So here they want cash is king here, and the real estate agent wanted their percentage, which is I think 3%. And everybody wanted cash, so you have to do a transfer. In my case, the notary, so that your money goes into a notary account until all paperwork, legal paperwork, deeds, and everything are, in your name.
Okay.
Then the seller gets your money from that notary account.
Okay, so kind of like an escrow account.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It works the same way. Well, the notary gave me the wrong number, and my money just came from the States and kind of floated around in Raiffeisen Bank. And the notary public said, it got sent right back because it's my father gave you the wrong number. A week later, Raiffeisen contacted my bank in the States, and they're like, what do you want us to do with this money that's just sitting here floating around? And, we had wasted a week by that time.
Jesus.
My God.
Welcome to Albania.
That's only in the tourist season.
Yeah.
So it ended up being this huge thing where my bank, Charles Schwab, said, you know what? Send the money back to the U.S. and then we'll decide if we're going to send it back to you again. So it was like 3 weeks of just,
oh my word,
stress-induced, craziness. And from that stress, I'm already a scatterbrained person. This added stress, I lost my wallet with both my debit cards.
Oh, no.
And that turned out to just add a whole nother level of stress to this experience.
Oh yeah, especially you're overseas.
Yeah.
But Charles Schwab got me a new card in 3 days.
Oh.
It got here
Oh.
in Saranda in 3 days, and they paid for it.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is really good.
Yeah,
And-
that was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's actually a huge hack is open up a Charles Schwab
Yeah.
brokerage account, and I
Yes.
think you can get a checking with that.
Yep.
That's tied to that brokerage account.
Yes.
And their debit card is fantastic.
Yes.
They pay their fees, like the ATM fees and everything.
And
like
we are
that.
not sponsored by Charles Schwab, but they're fantastic.
Yeah. They are any kind of slow traveler, full-time traveler, expat's best friend.
Yes,
So
I agree. Agreed. Anyhow, eventually I got all the money to the escrow account, and we just had to wait for the paperwork from the local government, the deed, to be transferred into my name. And that's called a hypothek here in Albania. And eventually I got my hypothek, first a digital copy, so that then I knew it went through.
right.
And got the physical papers 2 or 3 days later, and that was it. I was the proud owner of a 47 square meter apartment with a sea view here in Saranda, Albania.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was the timeline from like when you first started looking for something until the time you got the final?
Late February, early March, I started looking. I made the offer, I think, first third of March.
Okay.
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 It was accepted pretty quickly, and then the rest was just. It probably took 6 or 7 weeks from that time to me getting the hypothek,
Okay.
the deed, and then right now this video is filmed June 2nd or
Yeah.
3rd or whatever.
Yeah.
My apartment was finished like 2 or 3 days ago, the remodel, and furniture, appliances, a brand new kitchen with cabinets, that were measured and made for this apartment, paint from ceiling to floor, has been under $5,000.
Okay.
Wow. That's very affordable.
Yeah. So I came in, I ended up negotiating the apartment for 55,
Right.
and the remodel was 5. So I came in at my $60,000 budget.
That's
Okay.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually really quickly too, because I mean
6 weeks.
yeah.
6 weeks.
Because it's like, I mean, we have friends back in the States who are take, months just to get
Oh, yeah.
one part of their house remodeled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't imagine the whole place.
Yeah. And it's been fantastic. So 6 or 7 weeks for the whole sale process, and about 6 weeks for the remodel process.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good to know.
That's excellent.
And all I need is, like a mirror and a painting or two, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Paul, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thanks for
and
having me.
talking about it.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
No problem. I'm looking forward to this.
Have you ever considered moving abroad? Well, let us know in the comments. Also, our Nomadic Abundance members get access to an exclusive bonus episode where we uncover the unexpected challenges and top tips for American property buyers in Albania. From embassy visits for marital status proof to cash payment complications, you can get all the insider info you need, along with a growing collection of ebooks, resources, and guides for slow travelers. Just go to nomadicabundance.com to sign up. And of course, don't forget to check out the show notes where you can find links for everything we discussed in the episode. Finally, show your support for this project by liking and sharing the episode or buying us a glass of wine. Until next time, happy wandering. Well, Paul, thank you guys.
You're multiple people, apparently.
All my personalities are here today.
So I do this every time. It takes us so many times. It takes like 10 minutes and I'm finally like. Also, our Nomadic Abundance members get access to an exciting bonus episode where we uncover the unexpected challenges and top tips for American property. That's a mouthful.